All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is Ask an Event Pro. It's Francisco Almendares, product evangelist at Events.com, and with me today we've got Grant Reeves, CEO of Badass Dash and dog lover. We're really excited to have you here today and learn more about your operations and how you came about with this fantastic theme obstacle race that you have going on.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me. This is definitely a first time for me, so I'm looking forward to it.
It's our pleasure. So why don't we go right into it, Grant? We would love to learn more about you, learn more about how you go about your day-to-day operations. So why don't you start with telling us about some app tech tools that you just cannot live without, something that you need every single day?
Well, you know, in terms of the OCR market, it's a fairly new sporting program that's out there. And like any new sport, the athlete and participation or participant recruitment is all based on the tools that we have available to us today. And funny enough, we have probably different stages of tools we use: the pre-event, the live event, and then the post-event. And there's various tools that we use, but pre-event we've been using. A lot of people have been relying on your marketing efforts with all of the social media outlets, Instagram, the Twitter, the Facebook, and stuff like that. But what we've learned that is tying into our registration system, having overlay, having synergies between our web-based marketing, our e-blast campaigns, and our online pre-registration programs is very, very valuable to us, because it's in the event business as a whole, it's about impressions. You're not just going to get somebody to see it once and then they're going to register. It's you need to have repetitive impressions and impact on the people. So using the tools pre-event for marketing purposes is very, very important. Right from the registration platforms, such as obviously Events.com, all the way through to and overlapping that with both paid and complementary advertising through the social media outlets. And that's a very important tool on the participant recruitment side of it. When we build our courses, we're using apps on our phones now. We used to do it all with tape measures and sticks and running around. Now, Map My Tracks is something that I know that our live event crew use very, very extensively in layout of the course, not only for elevations and distance and terrain, but also, they run the course 2 or 3 times on the preliminary layout, and then the week of our setup, they're running it another 2 or 3 times to make sure we're right in that exact mileage or kilometer distance, and also to get a judgment on what the elite athlete, the recreation athlete, the canine athlete, all the way down to our, even our competitive kids division. So we use those apps in that aspect as well. Live event, again, using the iPads, iPhones, iPods for check-in and registration. It's huge that we have this technology available to us now versus the old ways we used to have to do it. So live event is huge as well when we're using modern technology now. It speeds up the process for people to come in. It speeds them up packet pickup or day of, and we're processing 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people in a morning, which is great. Obviously there's the timing-based programs that we're using. There's the Instagram posting and the the Facebook and the videos. You've got some of these places we're allowed to fly the drones. So all of this live event technology is not only helping grow the sport, but enhance the quality of the events that we deliver. And then post-event, it all spills into there too. So it's pretty unique.
Fantastic. That's great. That's great. And Grant, now we would love to learn a little bit more about your target audience and why you chose this particular audience when you were thinking of the Badass Dash in the beginning stages. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, Badass Dash is a very unique and different program. There's certain identifiers that we think set us apart from the rest of the OCR field. And one of those things people would be very probably surprised to hear. Our target audience and our go-to demographic is not the elite athlete. What people sometimes don't understand in the business model is we have a very, very small segment of the market. 1% of 1% are your true professional elite athletes that are in it to win it, so to speak. The rest of the people are in it for the personal challenge, the healthy outdoor lifestyle activity. And while we all have, various companies have different names for divisions and stuff, the recreational division, the first timer, the person that's doing it on a training program, the person that's out running different circuits, and challenging themselves is really the target market. And what we wanted to do to separate ourselves was we wanted to be a true obstacle course. We're not a running race with a couple of obstacles in there, and we're not a mud run. We're a true obstacle course. Every course we set up is 4.4 miles, 7 kilometers, with a minimum of 30 plus obstacles, usually 35 to 40 obstacles. So it's hard to get a running pace down in our event because you're going to come across an obstacle.
Right.
We built our obstacles in a very different approach. Autism is very close to our hearts, both in our race director, people within our management team and our head office, and in our friends and family. And when we started out back in 2012, we've been doing a lot of management of events and or working for and designing other events for other companies, but we wanted to take a different approach. So we design our obstacles, while in some cases they're similar to what you see out there, they're different in that we always make sure that they're achievable, but the harder you attack the obstacle, the harder it is for you to overcome it in a fast or a very quick time. And the obstacle is designed with the fact that people with autism live and go through these challenges every single day in their life. So we wanted you as an individual who may not be affected by autism to overcome that obstacle and the rest of them for one day. Find your goal line, find your finish line for that day, with the understanding that people who live with autism every day have to overcome obstacles like this each and every day of their life. And we really have found that we're not only hitting an emotional stride with the competitors that are in our event, but we're starting to see now the results from our elite runners coming back and saying, your courses are incredible. They're one of the toughest we've ever been on there. We don't understand why, and it's because we build them so that an elite runner can attack that course with everything they got, but it's going to treat them the same. It's going to be very hard, but yet the recreation runner can start that course and take their time through teamwork and individual effort and overcome each of the obstacles.
Absolutely. Now, Grant, I understand that our show here is called Ask an Event Pro, but it's very clear to everyone that you are also marketing pros. You do a fantastic job with your marketing. So we'd love to hear from you. What are some of the most effective marketing tactics that you've rolled out so that we can potentially imitate you a little bit?
Well, there's always the obvious. You've got your Facebook paid campaigns, you've got your social networking with both past and present events where we're leveraging you as a competitor to invite your teams. We want to work with building the teams. But one of the things we found, and I say this at the risk of sounding a little bit off of center from most people, we're starting to lean back in what we would call your terrestrial or traditional type of advertising. And not one exclusive avenue is going to work. You can't just advertise an event like this and expect to get the real numbers that we get by just doing Facebook campaigns. It's not going to work. You can't just put an ad in the newspaper and go out and flyer a neighborhood. What we see and what we worked on last year, when we experimented very well, we took part of our marketing budget and we identified a very solid and very good industry-leading radio station in each market that identifies with our demographic, and we brought them in as a true partner, a sponsor, so to speak, but a true partner. So we now are overlaying terrestrial media, your advertising that you see with radio campaigns, on-air giveaways, Facebook, social media, other types of programs, and then carving out part of that daily deal program as well to help enhance it. So we have various different marketing roads or marketing avenues all working towards that crescendo at the end where your pre-registration is building up. Because day of registration, frankly, in this market isn't going to be something very focused or very strong. We do not advertise 2 to 3 days out even from our event in the market. The marketing's usually done the week before, and that's when we wrap it up.
Very interesting. Thank you. Thank you for the insight there, Grant. And now we'd love to sort of try to imagine a day in your office. Can you tell us a little bit about what your staff, your team looks like on a, in the office on event day?
What's ironic in our program, and I'm not sure how it works in a lot of these other programs. You see, we're not a tour that's running out there trying to do the most events. We're trying to do very sound and very quality events, and make them repeat events. Our biggest event, we've been in the market for 4 years, going into our 5th year, and it's almost on autopilot. But in terms of in the office leading up to it, you have your standard person who answers the phone as your receptionist. We've got our IT guy who's always constantly monitoring the social media, Facebook, the website, works in concert with our ticketing platform for pre-reg. Sometimes there's always going to be conflict. It's not always 100% perfect, but somebody, I know me, I'm technically very, very untechnical, so I always have to, I'm the guy that calls in for the help on the helpline. We have that person. But we try to make everybody's experience from the first time they click on that information page or information link all the way through to and completing the registration a very positive experience. So we're trying to make ourselves be there as much as possible. But we also know that, going back to the impressions, we're constantly making Facebook posts, healthy lifestyle choices in our Facebook programs, web page ads, reminding people through e-blasts of the daily deal. So it's a maintenance program that. But on the other side of it, you could call this office on a big event on Wednesday and the event's on Friday or Saturday. You're not going to get anybody here. We're very small, very elite, and very efficient crew, so we're all at the events. And with technology today, you put your office phone on call forward and somebody's going to answer it.
All right. Well, I'll take the opportunity to congratulate you because you've obviously done some fantastic things with a small, efficient, elite team, like you say. And while we're in the subject of teams, Grant, I understand there's an announcement that will needs to be made around teams for the OCR World Championships. I'll give you the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, we were going to show up and surprise everybody that's in the OCR market and follows it very well. I applaud Adrian and his crew. That they run a phenomenal. Last year was the first time true OCR World Championships in Columbus, Ohio. It's repeated this year. It's next weekend, October 17th weekend. And I've never been one to play into the elite athletes. I treat elite athletes in not only in the OCR business, but in our other businesses as the marketing tools. They're not the ones that pay the bills. The recreational runners pay the bills. And Adrian and his team have identified that you need to have that crescendo event as a true world championship for the elites, but also other level athletes. And we've identified, let's just say, 2 males and 1 female pro athletes in the OCR world that are somewhat known, but probably kind of sleepers that I think will do very, very well next week. Running in 2 men in the elite division and 1 in the women's division. And with their new team program, we're fielding both on this a professional men's team and a professional women's team in the elite division on the Sunday rounds of competition as well. So you're going to see Badass Dash alongside of Camp Rhino out of Las Vegas in a very big and very loud and proud way. And you know, I'm not expecting anybody to win, but if we all finish in the top 10, I'll be ecstatic. So we're coming out full strength next week.
Fantastic. Well, best of luck with that, Grant. Now, I did mention at the beginning of the interview, for those that joined a little bit late, Grant is a huge dog lover, and he has his teammate, actually, his dog that's with him most of his life, right with him. Maybe we can introduce him a little bit later. But you do have the Canine Companion Division. So would love to understand, how did this come about? How did this get introduced into the OCR scene?
Well, not that I'm looking for any free promotional advertising or anything, but we have another program in the Canine Aquatics Division. We're the industry leader and the worldwide sanctioning body for dock dogs. And dock dogs is a quick description: dogs running off a dock into a body of water. We measure for distance, speed, and height. But it's a true team program. With our experience of doing over 200 events a year in dock dogs, we looked at how active and how the opportunity is for canine companions to be with their OCR people out in the wilderness. You see them trail running all the time. You see them working together and swimming sometimes out at the lake and the cottage and stuff. And we said, look, we need to create something that the OCR person can bring their dog out with. And what we did was we tried the Canine Companion Division, a true canine companion, a team. So in our program, and I believe we're probably the only ones truly having an obstacle course that entails a runner and their canine companion. And what we do is we take a part of the adult course and we drop it down to somewhere between 3 miles, 3.5 miles, instead of 4.4 miles. We pick a select route that allows them to take on 15 to 20 of the obstacles from the adult course, but that are canine companion friendly. So to give you an example, one of the ones that's always very hard is we have the claustrophobic crawl, which is the tube crawl. I barely fit through it. The adult can do it, but there's very few dogs that actually will go into that tunnel. There's other dogs that have been trained for it and do it. It's the same with our Australian back crawl. We make the crawl, the adults go under the net, but we make the canine companions go over the top. And it's really unique to see how these runners that are taking on the obstacle course with their dogs, navigate each of these individual obstacles as a team, because one might be for the dog and one might be for the handler, or both have to do it. But it really, the end result is you see, so far have yet to see a handler pulling a dog across the finish line. It's always the dog pulling the handler across the finish line, wanting more. And it's really unique to see this outdoor, healthy lifestyle experience now in a competitive environment and challenging both the handler and the dog together. So the Canine Companion Division is growing, and it's something we're looking forward to in the future. And I'd like to see more companies do it.
Absolutely. It's great that you're doing that, and I'm full supporter of it. I don't, unfortunately, have a dog with me right now, but I'd love to at some point be able to have that connection with my dog, to be able to run an obstacle course with him or her and cross the finish line together. Now, obviously having a canine companion division, having a very challenging obstacle course race, there are a lot of planning that needs to happen for safety specifically too. So what are some extra safety concerns that you need to plan for when you're putting on a true obstacle course like the Badass Dash?
I think that it's fun. It's funny that you mentioned this, because whether people are going to be as direct and as blunt as I am as an individual, I'm very confident in both my team, my course building crew, and more importantly, my race director. Safety has to be the #1 priority. And it's been a discussion, I think, that has been behind closed doors in the past, but I think in the OCR market, you're going to see it become the forefront of discussions, not only amongst individual owners and course developers, but as an industry and any associations that may be out there. There are so many accidents and so many incidents already in such a new sport. It's an atrocity, in my personal opinion. It shouldn't happen. Are you going to have people in any type of sport suffer from heart attacks and strokes and sprained ankles and broken ankles? Absolutely. But some of the things that are going on out there need to be addressed, and the association as a whole, the sport as a whole, needs to come together and set a minimum safety standard. And with any sport, any organization, whether it be motorsports, whether it be football, hockey, basketball, track and field, not everybody can be a promoter. Not everybody can be a race organizer. A lot of people think they can, but the challenge you have is people that come into it for the first time without consideration for experience, history, pitfalls, safety issues, make mistakes that unfortunately cost the rest of the longevity of the program and the people that are in it as a living. So we have to be very careful to make sure that we work together. When we build a course, safety has to be the #1 priority. My race director we will argue on site. He's like, well, it's an obstacle course, but I'm like, yeah, but if you're going to difference between dropping 3 feet when you're exhausted and 1 foot is the difference between somebody breaking a leg.
Right.
It's not going to make that obstacle any harder because they dropped 1 foot versus 3 foot, but it's going to make it safer. Things, the water crossings, barbed wire. I mean, I'm a very, very, very outspoken person amongst the barbed wire programs. You've got all kinds of communicable diseases that are transferred through blood, and yet you're running these people with no certificates of any sort, running under a barbed wire, leaving skin and blood on it for somebody else to come along. There's other ways to make the obstacle identical to that without the safety hazard. So these are just things that I think the industry as a whole needs to come together on. Water crossings, water depths, these type of things. We need to have more attention when we're running in these very, very hot and warm climates. Pay attention for rehydration stuff, rehydration stations along the way. And it's all common sense stuff, but sometimes business will outweigh common sense, and sometimes naivety in people that are first-time promoters will outweigh the common sense. And I think if we can come together as a whole, you know, from the top promoters to the lowest promoters, if we can come together as a whole and set a standard, and it's not far off in the horizon, I think that the right people are talking already behind the scenes. It's a matter of when it'll come together. We can raise the level of safety standards and at the same time decrease the level and the amount of insurance that we are required to either have or amount that we have to pay, which then translates to more events and more opportunities for people to participate in the OCR market.
Absolutely. Well, Grant, thank you so much again for our viewers. Grant Reeves has been with us today. He's CEO of Badass Dash, and this is Asking Event Pro. Please make sure to join us every Thursday at 11:15 a.m. Pacific, 2:15 Eastern. Grant, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure learning from you today, talking to you, and we hope to have you back in the show soon.
We look forward to it at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Grant. Goodbye, everyone.